I just discovered my birth parents. Here I am, 77. I just saw for the first time a picture of my mother and my father.
Wow.
I've never seen that before. And so that's a major disruption. Two brothers that I didn't know I had. That's a major disruption. So I'm still processing that. You talk about the last few weeks.
Here I am, my 77th year on the planet. And now I find out. God said, I got something for you.
My second cousin showed me a video of my mother speaking, which I've probably watched about 56 times. It was disarming. I just said, Mamie Brown, who adopted me, my birth mother, she gave me life, but Mamie Brown, who adopted me, she taught me how to live life.
Just wanted to see a picture of my mother or father, and always wanted to meet someone who knew them. Now I have pictures and met people who knew them and sharing stories. But I did not realize how much and how important that was to me. I did not allow myself to recognize that hunger part of my life because I didn't think it would ever happen.
I went down to Gainesville, Georgia, and as many of you know, I connected with my birth family. And yesterday, this time, I was seated on the porch on a bench that my birth mother, Dorothy Rucker, built this house. It said she had a saw and a hammer. A saw and a hammer, and she built this house. And I was there to visit the Beulah Rucker Museum. My grandmother, who was a motivational speaker, Dorothy Bell Rucker, who was a motivational speaker.
Green, I tell them good old collard green, good and greasy collard green. I tell them good old collard green. First you put them in a pot, then you steam them good and hot. Them good old collard greens.
We're at the Beulah Park Museum. It's 40 acres. When my mother graduated from Savannah State College, she purchased 200 acres of land at 50 cents an acre. Okay? And she worked. She worked hard. Excited about this, and I've been reflecting and doing a lot of thinking. It's a new narrative for my life. I now have to begin to ask the question, what am I to do with this?
I and my brother, we were a secret.
Wow.
This thing called life.
Did you care to know why they put you up for adoption, or?
Oh, I knew why she did. She was married.
Okay.
And her husband was away in World War II.
Gotcha.
So she had to get rid of us before he came back.
Boy, them country secrets be different, don't they? them down south dirt road secrets, boy. Lord have
No,
mercy.
they're everywhere. And so it was disarming to see her, to see our mannerisms. There's certain things that taught, some things are caught. And you do things, and you know, there's some things I call, it can't help it. That you can't help it. It's just who you are. It's in you. And you've got to do it. You are driven. You were chosen to do it.
Sometimes missing something until you find it.
Pioneer. Education pioneer. Hard worker. This is to sacrifice time both day and night to light a torch of instruction, which I hope will cause the public to see the purpose of this much needed institution. The Rugged Pathway, Beulah Rucker, 1953. I was 8 years old. My birth mother, Dorothy Bell Rucker, has created a new narrative for me. When I had my talk show, my radio show, I would say, "This has been Mrs. Mamie Brown's baby boy." Now I have to say, "This has been Mrs. Mamie Brown's baby boy," and Dorothy Bell Rucker's pride and joy. I've got two mothers, and I'm not ashamed. I've got two mothers, and I love them just the same. And so I now have an expanded narrative about who I am and what caused me to become the kind of person I am. Because Dorothy Bell Rucker was a motivational speaker, teacher, educator, and Beulah Rucker, who had a relationship with Mary McLeod Bethune, she was an educator. She was a motivational speaker. They have a museum in her name, the Beulah Rucker Museum in Gainesville, Georgia. And so that's the lineage that I came out of that I had no clue, that I was not aware of.
Stage of my life, it has fired up my hunger to make a greater impact. I want to be like my grandmother and my mother, as well as Mamie Brown, to make my life count through people, as my mother Mamie Brown did, my adopted mother, and my birth mother. I want to have an impact on people's lives, a greater impact. And I know even at 77, I still got the juice.
One of the things that I love about you is that you live in my favorite place in the world, Ohio.
Oh, yes.
Because I'm an Ohio guy.
Is that right?
And I grew up in Delaware, Ohio, lived in Columbus for many years, just had my event in Columbus because I try to bring back meaning to the place that helped me so much when I was...
And it did so much for me. I went to Columbus, I was 22, and became a disc jockey there, and did that for many years. And then I evolved into a community activist and became very, very much involved in politics and ran for the Ohio legislature, was elected to 3 terms. And then my mother became ill and resigned and went back to Miami, Florida, where I'm from originally. But Columbus, I came in as a boy, but I left there as a man. I grew up. There are so many things and so many memories that helped me to become the person that I am, and the people that played a major role in my life.
Really? You're 22 when you went there, is that what you said?
Yes, yes.
And then you moved to Cleveland event later?
No. Then when after that, I was elected to the Ohio legislature, and then I went back to Miami
to
take care of my mother. sister called me and said, "Are you sitting down?" And I said, "What's wrong with Mama?" She said, "She has breast cancer." I'm adopted. I'm one of 7 children that she adopted. And when we were 6 weeks of age, my twin brother, I have a twin brother, my mother adopted us, and then she adopted 5 other children. So I'm one of 7. And I always say that I'm here because of 2 people. One gave me life, the other one gave me love. God took me out of my biological mother's womb and placed me in the heart of my adopted mother.
Wow, amazing.
Yes.
Amazing. And why did you decide to go back to be in Cleveland then? And why did you decide to go back?
No, I just went to Cleveland recently. I have
Really?
investment in a daycare center there, 3. And so I went there to help to create a new type of curriculum that will help young people early on begin to develop the communication skills that I think that's very important in becoming successful in life. That's major, your mindset, but also to have a value for life, that we see so much violence as children. They said over 200 acts of violence when children are raised in a culture.
Wow.
And the study that was done by Dr. Seligman in the book called Learned Optimism, the 26-year most exhaustive study on self-esteem, said that between the ages of 0 and 5, that we develop permanent personality characteristics that follow us for the rest of our lives. And so I wanted to develop a curriculum that would teach children that life has value and that your life has value, to change their vision of themselves and to interrupt how they see themselves based upon being in a hostile culture. This is a hostile culture for people of color.
Yeah.
And so to me, one of the most important things to help people to overcome the psychic disrepair is creating a curriculum early on, and what we talk to parents about, that our children are molding today what they will be in the future. When I was a kid, I was born in an abandoned building on a floor with my twin brother Wesley, and we were adopted. When I was 6 weeks of age, I was labeled educable, mentally retarded when I was in the 5th grade. They put me back from the 5th grade into the 4th grade. I failed again in the 8th grade. I have no college training. So being identified and labeled as DT, the dumb twin, it gave me a lot of things to overcome. And one of the things that Dr. Seligman said, that when you are between the ages of 0 and 5, a word is formulated in your heart. That word is yes, or that word is no. So when you're raised in poverty, that vision of yourself, that culture, those circumstances, those conversations, those things that you observe, they begin to create the lenses from which you see the world. And so to overcome that it's a major, major challenge. And so I wanted to use the things that I learned and begin to implement and integrate those into the daycare centers that we have become involved in.
That's really cool. Yeah. Well, how many daycare centers are there now?
3.
3 of them. Gotcha.
Yes.
Very cool. What do you think it is that school is missing out on in general in the U.S.? What's the main thing?
They did a study of some top achievers and successful people around the world, and they wanted to find out what was the common denominator among them that enabled them to reach their goals. And what they discovered, that 85% of them reached their goals because of their attitude, their vision about themselves, and 15% because of their aptitude. So school, as you know, has been focused on reading, writing, and arithmetic. It does not consider critical thinking and the conceptual education, and it does not help young people begin to mold a vision of themselves that will allow them to be an asset to our society rather than a liability. In fact, particularly when it comes to children of minorities, one of the things that the school systems do, they track and determine based upon the failure rates of African American children and
Really?
Latino kids in the 3rd grade. Based upon those failure rates, they determine and extrapolate from those numbers how many prisons they're going to build. So if you can track failure, you can also track success. So when you come up in an environment that is, 1, designed to destroy your sense of self, and 2, give you and provide for you an inferior education. Like when I came up in school at Booker T. Washington High School, the money that was allocated to educate kids on Miami Beach and Coral Gables versus Booker T. Washington High School is just tremendous difference. And when we got books, we got the old books that were 5 and 6 years old, written in, pages torn out of. And when they gave the test on the new books that we never got, and they said that we were inferior, we believed them, because the newspaper said so, and we bought that. And so one of the worst things that you can do is provide an environment and get people to buy in a lie about themselves and cause them to live a small life as opposed to a life of achievement, because the culture is designed to hold us back. When I graduated from high school, a white high school dropout had more of a chance of getting a job than a black college graduate.
Wow.
Yeah, so that kind of environment, it destroys your sense of self.
When did you start? I mean, I was, never good at reading and writing. I was held back. I was, in the special needs classes, all those things through elementary school, middle school, had a tutor all the way through high school. Always felt like I needed to.
Yeah, my mother's tutor was a good switch. She believed my subconscious mind was in my behind. Oh, yes, but go ahead, yes.
And I'm curious, when did you start to believe in yourself? Or was someone...
My mother was working for a very wealthy family. She worked for wealthy families on Miami Beach. And I remember Mrs. Sidursky. She cooked for these families, and we ate the food left over from the families that she cooked for. She kept their children, and we wore the hand-me-down clothes of the children that she worked for. And when I had the assignment of cleaning Mr. Sidursky's office and shining his shoes, and he was listening to various motivational recordings. This is reel to reel. This is before 8-track and before cassettes. And those words, I had no idea while I was shining his shoes, listening to people like Jim Rohn. When the end comes for you, let it find you conquering a new mountain, not sliding down an old one. People like Zig Ziglar, if you give enough people what they want, they will give you what you want. Listening to some of the words of Winston Churchill, the truth is incontrovertible, malice may attack it, ignorance may deride it, but at the end, there it is. And so I had no idea, while shining his shoes, listening to these words, that it began to restructure my vision of myself. And I had an interruption when I was in the 11th grade, because I was in special education from the 4th grade all the way to the 11th grade. And I met a gentleman by the name of Mr. Leroy Washington. I eulogized him last year. They call him the great communicator. And I was in his class waiting on another student. He said, "Young man, go to the board and work this problem out for me." And I said, "I can't do that, sir." And he said, "Why not?" I said, "I'm just here to see MacArthur Stevens. I'm not one of your students." He said, "Go to the board and do what I'm going to give you directions anyhow." And I said, "I can't, sir." And the other students started laughing, saying, "He's Leslie. He's got a twin brother, Wesley. Wesley is smart. He's DT." He said, "What's DT?" He's a dumb twin. And I said, "I am, sir." And he came from behind his desk. He looked at me. He said, "Don't you ever say that again. Someone's opinion of you does not have to become your reality." And so what he did was what you do on this program every day. How people live their lives is a result of the story they believe about themselves. And when you have your program and your guests, and as they share ideas of how they move through the things that affect them, what you do is interrupt their story. I tell speakers, I train speakers how to discover their story, how to tell their story, and how to transform people individually and collectively by creating an experience. When I came into the speaking industry, it was based upon the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Napoleon Hill's book was a good book, and they considered that the Bible of the motivational speaking industry. Well, I come to know because of my mentor, Mike Williams in Columbus, Ohio. He wrote the book called The Road to Your Best Stuff. He said, Les, if information could change people, everybody would be skinny, rich, and happy.
Right.
Okay. So he said, in order to change people, you have to create a significant emotional event, that you have to interrupt a person's story that they believe about themselves with your story. And through the delivery of your story strategically, you dismantle their current belief system and inspire them to make new choices. Because at the end of a presentation, if you don't change how a person sees themselves, and if you don't expand their vision of themselves beyond their mental conditioning and their circumstances, and begin to allow them to get a larger vision of themselves and begin to ignite their spirit. You touch their hearts. And as a result, they leave your presence feeling better about themselves, but making new choices, because when you change how they see themselves, all you have to do after that is to get out of the way. The motivational industry is based upon a different type of method, like Tony, who I think is a great speaker. Tony, he trains to get people to go to a firewalk, okay?
Yeah.
I'm training people to get into their greatness, to begin to develop the courage to pursue dreams beyond their comfort zones. Because in order to do something you've never done, you've got to become someone you've never been. When you're pursuing your greatness, you don't know what your limits are, so you act like you don't have any. And one of the reasons that Booker T. Washington said, judge a person not by what they accomplish, but what they had to overcome for their accomplishment. You know, so the challenge, like me, for instance, in me having a global voice, I remember when Tony had an infomercial sponsored by Gunther Rinker, and they spent millions of dollars, and it was a blessing for me that they rejected me, because I have the complexion of rejection. He has the complexion of connection. And so they said, oh, we don't believe a black guy can have appeal to the American public. I was so furious with that because it's called white privilege, you know. So I said, I don't have a backer. I don't have 4-color brochures. I still don't. I don't have millions of dollars backing me to develop a global voice. And Mike Williams, his goal was to train me to speak to the world. So I thought about it, and I remember something that Robert Schuller said: there's never a shortage of opportunities. It's just a shortage of thinking. And so when I saw what Tony was doing, training people to go to the back of the room and sign up for his firewalk, or all the other speakers to go back and get their products, I said, wait a minute. Impact drives income and referrals. I'm going to focus on training and developing a method and technique to transform people's lives individually and collectively, as Mr. Washington did for me. When he said to me, young man, go to the board and work this problem out for me, and I said, I can't do it. And he said, don't ever say that again. Someone's opinion of you does not have to become your reality. He interrupted my vision of myself. And as a result, my mother said, sticks and stones can break your bones and words can never hurt you. That's a lie. Words can hurt you very deeply. And so, but he interrupted my vision of myself. And as a result of his example and the input, review, repetition, and reinforcement of that concept, and how he held me in his eyes when he looked at me, I was able to die to who I was and depart from the story that I bought into. Even if you are told a lie, faith comes by hearing and hearing and hearing. You hear it often enough, it becomes your reality. Perception, not challenge, becomes real for you. And so there was no one to dispute what was said about me, and I bought it. He interrupted that vision of myself in the 11th grade. And as a result of that, I began to become a different kind of person. And so listening to these various speakers, but then because of how I was rejected by Gunther Rinker and those guys, I said, I don't have millions of dollars, but I got a story. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to figure out how to transform audience. I'm going to figure out how to make myself stand out. I don't have the money to compete with them. I don't have the complexion of connection. But one of the things that Mike said to me, he said, Brownie, pay more attention to the listening than the telling. Study the audience. Conduct communications intelligence. Don't assume that you know what they want to hear. He said, never let what you want to say get in the way of what the audience needs to hear. And so that's what I focused on. I always do a needs assessment. When I'm training speakers, I tell them, don't assume you know. Each audience is a different type of personality. Each area of industry, if you want to go big, if you want to speak globally, you want to become an expert on the audience. You got to learn and you got to study them so that you can have the versatility and flexibility to speak to any type of audience with your story and be able to transform them individually and collectively. And that impact will drive your income and your requests. The average speaker get around 25 to 30 requests a year. I get over 3,000 because of using that principle. And many of the speakers that I've trained now, and some of them have passed me using the same technique and strategies and have made millions of dollars.
Amazing.
Yes.
What would you say is the vision for your life right now?
My vision, I'm in a place of the Russian author Leo Tolstoy. He said, as I face inevitable death, what in the meaning and purpose of my life that will not be undone or destroyed when I'm gone? And so the speakers that I train and the speakers that I influence and the people they train and transform their lives, that we are literally in God's pyramid, that work will not be undone or destroyed when I'm gone. And so my goal now, we learn, we earn, we pass it on. I noticed when Jim Rohn died and Zig Ziglar died, they had not trained anybody. We don't hear anything about the people that they poured into. I've got so many that can go with me toe to toe. However, I tell them, trust me on this. I said, don't let this 72 fool you. I still got the fire up in here, up in here. I taught you everything you know, not everything I know, all right?
Right.
Young brooms feet clean, but old broom know where to go. Okay. So to me, I believe we live in the greatest country in the world, bar none. We're talking about make America great again. Foolishness. We never stop being great. There's no country that can compare to us. And we have the opportunity, I believe, by multiplying voices of hope, that we can begin to create a new day. A lady came from Australia for me to train her, and she's rather wealthy. And I said, why did you come to me? And she said, I saw you speaking on YouTube in the Georgia Dome, and you were speaking to 80,000 people. She said, wow. And you spoke from your heart, and you held my attention, and I can see you were holding their attention. And she said, can you train me to tell my story from my heart? And I said, yes. And so she started to tell me a story. Wait a minute, you're scripted. I said, that's what set me apart from all the other speakers. They're scripted. If you have a script that you memorize, then you've got to speak from your head. You've got to regurgitate that script. I said, I will train you how to speak extemporaneously so you have the versatility and flexibility to create unforgettable moments in the context of your presentation. And so we started working together. Then she stopped for a moment. I said, can you tell me why you want to do this? And she said, yes. She said, when I saw Dalen Roof, the young white boy who went in a church and killed 9 black people, she said, I felt that there should have been someone standing to his right on trial, because he was not born with that hatred in him to kill 9 black people. Somebody poisoned his mind. And then she paused and said, and this gave me goose pimples, and we both cried. She said, I believe the world is as it is, not because a few people are violent. I believe the world is as it is because too many people are silent. And I decided that my goal is at this chapter in my life, as I face inevitable death, which I'm believing it will be a long time from now, okay?
Yes.
I can't believe that I'm 72. I used to think people in their 40s were old. Now that I'm 72, I feel I was a waiter at the Lord's Supper. Okay? So my goal is to train others how to tell their story, how to extract their story, how to organize it, how to deliver it in a way strategically to transform audiences. And I believe by multiplying those voices, we all have an energy signature. There's certain people, when I speak, I'm going to reach them. There's some people that will hear both of us, but there are some people, because of your energy signature, that when you speak, they will hear you not just in their ears, they're going to hear you in their heart. And as a result of them being in your presence and under the influence of your voice, when they leave your presence, you will inspire them, as Mother Teresa would say, to become a pencil in the hand of God and start writing a new chapter with their lives.
Wow.
Yes. So the goal is to train up. Probably I want if I can train 77, Mike Williams asked me, I wrote the foreword to his book, The Road to Your Best Stuff. He said, Brownie, how many Les Browns do you have? I said, I think I got 4. He said, you need more. I said, I know. 7 is my lucky number. I'm one of 7 children. I was born February the 17th. My phone number is 702. My address is 2737. Did I tell you 7 is my lucky number? Joshua marched around the walls of Jericho 7 times. Naaman dipped himself in the river Jordan 7 times. Did I tell you 7 is my lucky number? So I'm going to train 77 people to speak to the world, to transform lives, to make a difference. Horace Mann said we should be ashamed to die until we've made some major contribution to humankind. And I believe here we are living in the greatest country in the world where people risk their lives to get here, to outswim sharks, to trying to outrun jeeps barefooted. And yet and still, last year, according to the CDC, more people, over 3,000, committed suicide than died from accidents. And these people, I believe, did that because they felt hopeless and helpless. And had they heard your voice or my voice or someone else's voice, that would have interrupted the vision of being hopeless and helpless and empowered them. I had a guy who he texted me the other day. He said, I was in a very dark place and I heard your voice and it brought me out into the light. Wow. So that's what the next chapter looked at. Yes, to train 77.
I'm going to have to take that training with you.
Oh, you're great already. You know?
I appreciate
if I could just touch the hem of your garment, I'll be made whole.
Yes.
Here's something else. The power of communication. The power to tell your story. I can tell you how important that is. I used to be a state legislator. I beat an incumbent, 22-year incumbent. I'm not bragging, but I'm just telling you what is. 2 attorneys ran before me, and they lost, and they were very smart. I have no college education, and they lost. And you know why? They did not know how to tell their story. See, politics, as in everything in life, is the story you tell about yourself, the story you tell about your opponent, the story your opponent tells about you, and the story you tell about yourself if you are the opponent. Let me give you an example. 45. You notice he always gives all of his opponents names, Sleepy Joe? If there are times I look at him, I say, oh God, this is when I really miss politics. If I were running, I said, listen, traitor Trump, you've told 16,241 lies, or 16,241 statements. Let me ask you something. What are you hiding in those taxes? You went all the way to the Supreme Court, and they knew it was frivolous and threw it back. What are you hiding? Come on, talk to me, brother. Let me tell you something. I don't know what, I love a good debate. Let me tell you, they don't know. I would say every time I would open my mouth, you know, Hillary Clinton's not running, and I heard him talk about her yesterday. He called her Crooked Hillary. Every time I would open my mouth, I said, you know something, traitor Trump? I know you're in love with Putin. I know, I know y'all cool. I know y'all down, y'all in the closet, but you got to come out sometime. But let me share this with you. You can't sell democracy down the tube because you're in love with Putin. No, it ain't going down like that. And something else I want to share with you, Traitor Trump, that as you look at yourself, look at your goals and dreams, why is it you never talk about Putin? What's going on there? And it's none of my personal business, but I'm just wondering, aren't you married? What's happening up in here? My brother. Let me tell you something. He would want to run he'd be chasing me all around the debate podium. I love debates, oh my God. I was in this debate in Whitehall in Ohio.
And Whitehall is called Whitehall because they didn't allow black people to live in Whitehall. And I was in debate with Bill Kopp, who was a representative from the 29th district. And he and I were debating. And so at some point he said, you know what? He said, Les Brown, I just don't think that you will be qualified for my seat. And I said, excuse me, it's my seat. And when I win, here are the things that I'm going to do. I'm going to prevent utility companies from turning off somebody's utilities on Friday afternoon because they can freeze to death over the weekend. When I win, I'm going to make it required that money order companies have insurance coverage because a major money order company filed bankruptcy and people had worthless paper. When I win, I'm going to have a constituents day that every Saturday people come in and talk to me face to face. And one of the people in the audience, she stood up. She said, Mr. Brown, you are a very fierce debater. You're very good. You're very knowledgeable. But you're still a nigger. I said, thank you very much. I never would have known that had you not told me. The audience looked at her and looked at me and I was still cracking up. Oh, thank you, Jesus. Whoa, thank you, dear. Thank you. And people came out. They started laughing at my laughter. My mother taught me how to be graceful in ungraceful situations. They came out and said, man, you know what? We vote for you. For you not to get angry, for you to handle that statement like you did. The anger is a wind that blows out the lamp of the mind. Oh man, wow. I laughed all the way to my car. That tilted the scale. I won 26,000 to 3,000. Your ability to tell your story. It's important. The story you tell about yourself. The story you tell about your opponent. And if you're in sales, the story you tell about yourself, because people are asking, who are you? What do you have? And why should I care? The story you tell about your company, the story you tell about your product or your service, and how you tell it is very important. I was working with someone I was coaching this morning, and she came on just really mealy-mouthed. Oh, you know, we're going to help you begin to straighten your finances out. No. You can't come up in here like that. People's attention span goes in every 10 seconds. No. Speak like you own this space. This is who you are. This is what you do, and you are the one. You are an authority. Do you understand? Yes. Very good. Let's go at it again. Bring your voice down from your esophagus, down, lower. And it made all the difference. And how this person projected the story. You can create an experience with the story. The story, you can transform people's lives. I want you to write this down. I want you to, this quote was given to me, and I want to give me that. Where's that quote I was looking for? And it is very, the story, what it says succinctly, when you tell a story, something happens in a person's mind and in their heart that it begins to touch the emotions, and the story begins to expand their mindset to the possibilities. The story stays in the heart. Information is in the head, but the story, it's in your heart. And people are basically emotional. So when you work on your mindset, when you upgrade your connections, and when you work to impact your
storytelling skills, the possibilities unlimited is what you can do. If you're interested in learning how to tell your story, to transform people's lives, or to grow your business, to increase your sales, to build your multi-level marketing organization, if you might be involved in real estate, or you might be involved in insurance, you just have a business that you want to grow, you are the storyteller about your business. That's who you are. And your ability to do that is dependent on the skills that's required. Here's the quote that I was looking for. One day, when you tell your story, and listen to this, how you overcame what you went through, it will become someone else's guide on how they can overcome the same situation. Did you hear what I just said? One day when you tell your story of how you overcame what you went through, it will be a guide for somebody or millions of people on how they can do the same thing, because you are an example of what they can do. That's the power of story, and influencing, impacting, and transforming people's lives individually and collectively. And so this conversation is about developing your superpower. In the beginning was the Word. See, our parents give us our bodies and our facial features and our physical features, but God give us our voice. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God and dwelt among men. Our voice. Death and life is in the tongue. Most people speak more death than they do life. Our voice. Thou shalt decree a thing, and it shall be established unto you. Oh, come on now. Come on. Our voice. You want to change your life? Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. When shall the kingdom of God come? The kingdom of God cometh not by observation. They shall say, it's neither lo there, lo here. Behold, the kingdom of God. It's within you. It's within you. Woo, wow. Our voice, the kingdom is voice activated. That's why when you encourage someone, you stir up something in them. That's why when you speak, that you're able to ignite and release the kingdom of stories of greatness and potential and artistry, and enable them to expose themselves to a part of themselves that they can't go to by themselves, and that when you spoke, you exposed them to the kingdom of potential in them to live a larger life, to live the life that they were chosen to live their calling. A job is what you get paid for. A calling is what you're made for. And that calling is something that you love it so much you do it for nothing, but you do it so well that people will pay you to do it. Most people are doing things just to get paid. Let me tell you something. When you do something that's you, it's a different kind of feeling. It's a different kind of experience. If you're ready to make money with your voice, with your story, with your knowledge, with your experiences, with things that you've seen, things that you have observed, I got to tell you this story. Listen, you won't believe this. This is going to blow your mind. You won't believe it, and you're going to believe it. It's shocking. It's a drop the mic moment. It's jaw dropping what I'm about to tell you right now. Just let some other people know and say, Les is about to say something that you're going to say, whoa, wow. I'm telling you, do it right now. Have somebody else. Listen to me. I will tell you this story. And I'm gonna find a way to make it work for you, all right? Okay, I thought it just dropped in my spirit. Ladies and gentlemen, and this is primarily to men. Brothers, fathers, it's time to step up. Oh, some of you are. You provide and you protect, but far too many don't. My son, my oldest son, was working on his job. And there's a young lady that he knew that he was talking to, and a guy came by and spoke to her. and she didn't say anything. And so when she left from talking to my son, listen to me. This guy said to my son, "Hey, man, what's up with her? I've been trying to get a conversation with her, and she won't talk to me. She's ignoring me. She won't give me the time of day." And my son said, "I don't know." So when the guy walked away and she came back, because she moved deliberately, because she saw him coming over where my son and she was sitting. And so my son, Calvin, asked her, "Why did you move deliberately?" And this guy saying he's been speaking to you, but you won't give him the time of day. You know what she said? "He is the father of our son. And because he's not involved, because he doesn't come around, he doesn't remember my face." Good God from Zion. Whoa! You can't make this kind of stuff up. You can't make this up. He'd been absent. He's a sperm donor. You can't make this stuff up. He's not involved in his child's life. He's been away so long, so absent, he doesn't even remember the face of the mother of their child. Oh, God. Oh, boy. Oh, we have. Oh, boy. You can't make that up. That's heavy. That's drop the mic. You know what Tyrone said? "You about to make me cuss, Mr. Brown." If you don't know Tyrone, it's a squirrel that's outside my window. He's taught me squirrely. He doesn't know how to speak English yet, but I understand it. You know, I've been in the house too long. Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh, this thing called life is just too much. It's just too much. As Jerry would say. See, part of being able to change what's looking back at you in the mirror is being around the right people. That's major. Being around the right people, having the right coach, the right mentor, having a different kind of environment, having different stuff coming in your ears. Nothing gets through except through the ears and the eyes. This is a time, this place where we are, you have to create a shift in your environment. You want to create an environment deliberately that sets you up to win. If you're ready to do that, so I'm ready to win. If you're hungry, see, the reason that I put in the work to change that guy that was looking back at me in the mirror, I was hungry to win. I was a father, a husband, I had car note and mortgage note. I was hungry to know the best part of myself that I did not see yet, and I was willing to invest in me to make that happen. I didn't have the money to do it, but I couldn't afford not to do it. See, sometimes when it comes to you, you got to become a no matter what person. That whatever it takes, that you're willing to do it. And part of that is to sacrifice. But when you start talking about how do I leave a legacy? How do I create a presence that when I die, that there will still be conversations beyond 2 weeks after I'm gone? A friend of mine died, and somebody asked, hey, well, I haven't seen Marvin for a few days. Oh, Marvin's dead. He's dead. Yeah. How long he's been dead? Oh, man, about 6 months? Are you kidding me? I didn't know. You know why I didn't know? Because Marvin's life was so inconsequential. His presence was not missed. And most people, when they die, their presence will not be missed. But there's certain people, when they go, the word will go out. The word will go. John Lewis, oh, the word went out. Elijah Cumming, the word went out. These are bad brothers up in here. Aunt Boo Boo, Cicely Tyson, that's what we call her, Aunt Boo Boo. Cicely Tyson, when she took her last breath, the word went out. Her presence was felt. She made an impact. Those brothers made an impact with their lives. We're here to make a difference. Make an impact. If you're ready to make an impact, if you're ready to learn how to do that, to be around the right people, to be in a community of people that will introduce you to a part of yourself that you can't discover by yourself. If you're hungry, you gotta be hungry. And this place where we are right now, you wanna make it? Some stuff's about to happen. The bottom's about to drop out. With 47 million jobs being taken over by artificial intelligence. I saw online the other day, they had a robot jumping rope. I'm not making this up. A robot jumping rope, making salads, pouring drinks. Excuse me? I'm not making this up. This is the time you have to reinvent yourself to stay ahead of technology. This is the time you want to give yourself a competitive edge, because that's what you have to do. If you're around people who are on the same level that you are, who have not done what you've done, that you can't learn from, if you're around people who don't lift your spirit, people who don't inspire you, people who don't hold you accountable, people who don't challenge you, people that you can't learn by, you earn within $2,000 to $3,000 of your closest friends. You around me, you learn how to earn $70,000 an hour or more. Why? Because of the relationship. People rub off on you. Sidney Poitier, I love to talk about him in the book called The Measure of a Man. When you go for a walk with somebody, something happens. Either they adjust to your pace or you adjust to their pace. Whose pace have you adjusted to? And most of us have been adjusting to the pace of people below us, people who have no goals, people who have no dreams, people who are doing the same thing day in and day out. No sense of responsibility, no commitment to their children, no idea of building a vision and living from a life of legacy. When they die and they take their last breath, rather than leaving a legacy, they leave liabilities. Oh, help me, Lord. Can you believe that? This guy trying to have a conversation with a woman and ask my son, when he comes back over, why won't she talk to me? What's up with her? She's stuck up for something? And when my son asked her when she came back, when he left, what's up? You don't like him? Well, I know him very well. We had a baby together. And because he doesn't come around, because he never came back once I called him and said, I'm pregnant, he doesn't even remember how I look. And he's never seen his son, our son. I have nothing to say. Whew. As my mother would say, do Jesus. That's what baby Brown would say. I think I'm gonna land this plane.